Hey everyone, Kane here. Alright, so I have updated the global tier list a few days back, however, I did not have too much time to comment and go over it. There are a few changes that I have made to this list, and one of them is showing whether some units have been moved up in the list or down with green and blue arrows. If they do not have anything near them, it means they still stay in that particular place where they have been before. As well as I have added a tab in our list where people participated in our Moontree Discord to receive a special title for bragging rights and their formations to be used here, to show an example of how formations should look like instead of just mashing most of the S tier units into one formation. You may want to prefer some specific synergies that make some units a little more stronger than others. To begin with the S tier units, I have moved Pitfiend down to A tier as a healer itself. Compared to a few others, it's no longer as good as there are too many things that can kill her before she's able to heal. Whereas quite a few other healers do heal constantly, Pitfiend relies too much on units to remain close to her. Don't get me wrong, her healing is pretty huge and it can turn 20% health units up to full or nearly full. But as it is a trigger, it can be stopped by stuns, silences, and also offensive units are in the front line. So if it is misplaced or countered, they can die very easy. Aside from this, two new units have joined the S tier. One of them is Dendroid and the other is Wyvern. Dendroid recently received his own awakening that made him a pretty beefy tank and an even better debuffer. I personally used him before in my own formation just because of the synergy it is able to provide for my units. But after the awaken, I am safe to say it became twice as stronger, even though the numbers barely changed. Why I mean twice as stronger? That is because before it was probably one of the first few units to drop dead on my field. But right now, in many cases, it just does not even die, or takes a lot of damage dealers to focus it. Up to debate, but to me, at this moment, he's one of the few best tanks in the game. And Wyvern, it is a new unit that has been added just recently. Why would you think this unit has already joined the S tier if not many people were able to use it? Well, I have tested it on the test servers before, and the fourth skill of this unit, it feels like it does health percent damage, even though it is not listed in the skill itself. And when I was testing this unit with just level 7 skills, and not very well decked out, he was doing about 50% health damage in just one of the trigger of the fourth skill to most backline units and a lot less to tanks just because of their resistances and reductions. He topped the damage ranks every time against some other damage dealers who were even better upgraded than this. In many cases, I would say this is one of the stronger units in the game, PvP wise. Just because the damage is so high, and if Wyvern is used in a Dragon Muteor's formation and Dendroid is also added into the formation to have multiple units bleeding constantly, the fourth skill of this unit would do some pretty amazing damage. Moving to A tier, most units remained as they were from before, just that the few units were able to jump into this list. One of them is Centaur with his awakening that has been added recently. I feel like Centaur can be a lot stronger with his future faction leader. That is not yet released in the global. Even without the faction, he's still a pretty good tank, but he can be miles better. It is still one of the few better tanks to me, and on the way to his 6th Awakened star as of making the video. I find him very tanky if focused on the left side of his awakening window. But you can change some of those if you prefer more of the healing sort of route, but I'm not entirely sure if he can survive without the additional damage reductions at this point in time. I will be testing around and see which one is really better and weigh both in another video. And the second unit that made into this list is Manticore. Manticore is more of a PvP kind of a unit. He has a lot of buffs and debuffs which are activated once the enemy units die or enemy hero casts a spell. In some cases, if you sacrifice a spot of one of your damage dealers and add him instead, even as a low star, Manticore is able to provide so many defense reductions that even something like a behemoth will feel like Swiss cheese instead of an immovable tank. I believe I have made a few videos before with and without Manticore, and the differences are pretty huge in terms of being able to damage tanks with insane amounts of defense and damage reductions. Other than this, most of the units remain where they have been placed, but I just need to say, do not assume that if a unit is placed in, let's say, B tier, it means the unit is very bad. Some of these units perform extremely well in their own faction formations, like Iron Golem with Astral, or Elf Elemental against Sandro, would make your field suffer less earth spell damage and reduce the enemy hero's starting mana, and so on. So some of these units are very good in specific situations, fighting some specific heroes, and so on. But some of these either cost a lot of money and can only be used in some specific situations. The ones at the top of this list can be used in a variety of PvE and PvP events, and the lower the list goes, the less likely the units be used anywhere, because either they underperform at the job they're supposed to do, or they need a specific faction leader to even become useful. I can give an example with Black Dragon. If Black Dragon does not trigger 4 times before he is focused by enemy, he is a fairly weak tank with the immunity to magic. Being with Dragon Mutair, he will trigger twice in about 30 seconds, plus 2 more triggers because of Dragon Mutair's specialties, which made this tank reach its full potential in just about 30 seconds in the match. Which is why in most cases I put him behind my Dendroid to just let him stack up. He's still one of the better tanks outside of Dragon Mutair as well, it is just that he can stack himself up in 30 seconds compared to 1 minute outside of Mutair Dragon. And stacked up, with magic immunity, this dragon can tank a lot of damage. We can use Iron Golem as another example. Without Astral, he cannot pop his magic awakening very easy to stack it up. And even though he is a beefy tank, if he cannot stack up, he will be weaker than most tanks higher in the list, who start out the match a lot stronger. However, Iron Golem's awakening may change his rank in the future, and it may be a bit more useful than he is now outside of Astral. We will need to see whenever that comes. In the future, I will add a unit tips tab in the global tier list where I will write down some tips about the unit or explain the unit so people would know how to use it better, and I will also write down the synergies it can have and those sort of things, so you can look forward to that. Now moving to the formations tab that I have shown earlier, we can see that our first overlord is Laeliel, or Leliel. I 100% know that I butcher her name completely. Hopefully she will not kill me for that. In here we can see the Conflux faction leader CL. She has 4 Conflux elementals in this formation with 3 additional tanks taken from other factions, as well as a genie to provide reliable heals. I have asked her before, and she did tell me that her Phoenix and Physic Elementals are her top damage dealers. Usually Phoenix, but it depends how many Mystic Domains CL is able to perform. From the replays I have seen, she is one of the stronger faction leaders currently, given that you have a very strong frontline. Scrolling down, we see Necropolis, probably our most beloved faction yet. It is pretty standard to see most of the field as Necropolis units, as the faction leader benefits from fielding that many, and becomes a lot more powerful if the Necropolis units do remain alive when enemy units do die. The Angel in this formation adds a lot of utility in terms of healing, revival, some damage, and of course a 3-man stun. Not gonna lie, that vampire is pretty cancer. Moving a little more down, we see Stickle's dungeon formation. He's using a few faction synergies in here. The synergies are taken from Rampart and Inferno. However, currently I would replace the Minotaur in his formation with Dendroid to provide a huge kill ability for the Green Dragon in that whole line, as Dendroid would make the whole line bleed, instead of just Minotaur and Pegasus putting one bleed on what's in front of them. Other than that, it depends how well the Black Dragon, without being stacked, fares against strong damage dealers, but overall a solid Dragon Meteor formation. Now there has been a lot of competition for the Inferno Overlord role and bragging rights. However, why Oka Van Gogh was chosen was because he was able to provide quite a lot of synergies at the making of this event, and we were missing quite a few awakenings that got released after this event concluded. The synergies here are a lot to name, but to start, Ogre provides more heals on the field and also provides life drain in a wide range for many units, which in terms means more healing. Rock, the Thunderbird, reduces accuracy on the entire enemy field, making your demon dodge more attacks and in terms healing him more, and in return being able to soak more damage. As well as those heals are also buffed by Ogre. Phoenix and Fire Elemental providing burn effect for both Phoenix and Devil to do some incredible amounts of damage, that is, if they die. Efreeti, it depends what kind of the Awakened tree he has chosen, but usually most go for the burn entire field if you have Devil and Phoenix in your formation. Flame Feaster is only good if you're using Roshka. By making entire enemy field burn, Devil and Phoenix receive some pretty bonkers critical value numbers from their skills, making them do even more damage. Also, Ogre makes Xeron's 4-star specialty heal more. If Devil does in fact get more resets, what that means is if Devil kills the target he's focusing and resets his ultimate trigger, all Infernos on the field will be healed 10% health plus 20% for Devil, which I believe many people have tested, and Ogre would increase these percentages. So overall, a lot of emphasis on synergies. However, both of these tanks are fairly weak, so it really depends how fast he is able to kill the enemy until his tanks give out. Anyways guys, that's all the time I have for this video today. There are a few more overlords in this list, as well as my own formation that I currently do use. If you are interested, I will leave a link to this tier list down in the description below. Thanks for watching guys, and take care.